11.7 is sines of trig functions. So we've got our three basic ones are sine, cosine, tangent. I want to go back over talking about sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So in quadrant 1, if this is my triangle here, and my angle is right here in this corner, my opposite would be this y over hypotenuse, or we call this the radius of the circle because it's center to the edge. So towards the bottom of the page, you'll see this ratio y over r. That's where it comes from, is the opposite side on this unit circle, or on a coordinate plane, is always going to be the y over the r. So let's think about that. In quadrant 1, this is a positive y value. So we'd have a positive number, and then our hypotenuse or our radius is always positive. So positive divided by positive would mean sine would be positive there. If I had the same point, but now it's in quadrant 2, and I'm taking y divided by r, y is still positive. So I'd have a positive and a positive. But if I bring it down to a point in quadrant 3, now my y value would be a negative. So a negative divided by my positive radius or hypotenuse. And then if I had another one in quadrant 4, my opposite would be the y here, and that also goes down, so that would be a negative. So sine is positive when it goes up, the top two quadrants 1 and 2. It's negative when it goes down. So we're going to come jump back and forth. So at the bottom chart here, put that sine is positive in quadrants 1 and 2. It's negative in quadrant 3 and 4. So up, positive y, down, negative y. And then cosecant goes with that because remember cosecant is just the swapped version, does not change the sign, it just flips the numerator and denominator, so those go together. Okay, kind of go back up here. Now let's talk about cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So here in quadrant 1, this is still my angle, but now if I want cosine of there, adjacent's going to be this leg. So I'm going to the right, and I'm just talking about my x value. So going to the right would be positive. So cosine is going to be positive here in quadrant 1. Quadrant 2, my adjacent leg to this angle would be this x value, and I'm going back or left something, so that would be a negative, because remember we're always dividing by a positive radius or hypotenuse, so we don't worry about that. In quadrant 3, we'd still be going back with our x's, so that would be negative, and then quadrant 4, we're going right and then down, so we're having a positive. So cosine is positive when you go to the right 2 quadrants and negative when you go to the left 2. So we'll put that down there on our chart. So cosine's positive in quadrant 1 and 4. It's negative when you go to the left in quadrants 2 and 3. And then last but not least is tangent. Tangent's kind of weird because it's a y divided by an x, because we're doing opposite divided by adjacent. Opposite to adjacent is a y over x. We've actually seen this before with slope formula. Slope is y2 minus y1, or change in y over change in x. So think of this as slope. What is the slope of the radius here? It's positive. Because I'm taking a positive divided by a positive, that would get me a positive tangent. Quadrant 2, think about what the slope is. It's going downhill, it's negative, but also thinking about we're taking a positive y then divided by a negative x. That would get a negative number. Quadrant 3, here's my y, here's my x. So I'm taking a negative y divided by a negative x, and that would divide to make a positive number. So we're positive here, and this is positive slope. And then last but not least, we got our angle opposite. That'd be a negative y and then a positive x. So having a negative y by positive would make a negative. So tangent's actually positive in the diagonal quadrants. So this would be positive slope, this would be negative. It's positive when you have both positive x and y or both negative x and y. And it's negative when you have one of each. So we'll put a tangent is positive in quadrant 1 and 3. It's negative in quadrant 2 and 4. So what do you notice? Quadrant 1, everything's positive. There's no negatives in quadrant 1. There's also an acronym here that we could do. Start in quadrant 1, put all A, and then S, students, T, take, C, classes. It's just a way to remember. All students take classes. Everything's positive, all. Sine is positive in quadrant 2. Tangent's positive in quadrant 3. And then cosine's positive in quadrant 4. So now the problems are going to be this. Where is sine greater than 0? That means positive. And secant, and I'm going to go ahead and just make that cosine negative. So let's think about this. Where is sine positive? Answer that first. Sine's positive in quadrant 1 and quadrant 2, where y's are positive. Cosine is negative, not in quadrant 1, but where x is negative, that would be quadrant 2. So that would be our answer. So you're just trying to eliminate until you get the one quadrant both things are happening in. Where is tangent? Negative. So this is where it's positive. This is where it's negative, positive, negative. Where is cosine? Positive, greater than 0, positive. We don't want to go to the left, we want to go to the right. So it would be quadrant 4. And then last one, we got cosecant, which is a reciprocal for sine. And cotangent is really tangent. Where is sine? Negative, and tangent positive. Where is sine? Negative. That would be the bottom two quadrants because y's need to be negative. Tangent needs to be positive. That's either quadrant 1 or 3, so it'd be that one. So it's all about sine being y's, cosine being x's, tangent being the y divided by x.